So hello and welcome. My name's Steve Nobel, and today I'm speaking with Debbie Frank on What's Your Soul Sign, her book, which I've got here. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I had it open. There it is. Lovely book. I've been reading it. And Debbie is a master astrologer and life healer who provides guidance in the journey of your soul. With decades of experience as an astrologer and life healer, Debbie focuses on how the birth chart is encoded with your life patterns, soul's intentions, contracts, and agreements. And for her, astrology enables us to live a life that's full of meaning, connection, and personal evolution. Her website is debbiefrank.com. There will be a link going out with this podcast. Hi, Debbie.
Hello, Steve. Great to see you.
Lovely chatting again. And I just to let the listeners know, I have volunteered to be a guinea pig for this one. So my chart will be I will be the sacrificial lamb, I should say.
Oh, I promise it won't be that bad.
Okay. So how did you get into the whole field? I'm sure you didn't, you weren't going through school going, I want to be an astrologer. How did it all happen?
Well, funnily enough, when I was about 7 at my school, they started giving us lessons, not in astrology, but in astronomy, which is quite unusual. And so I became fascinated with the constellations from a very young age, and we were drawing, the map of them all. When I was a teenager, Linda Goodman's book came out on sun signs, and I just loved that. That became, it was sort of like the teenage Bible. And I kind of thought, wow, I would just love to be an astrologer, but I'm sure that would only be possible in America. And this is all pre-internet. But lo and behold, in my mid-20s, although by that time I was kind of in publishing and PR, I saw a course for astrology, which was just by chance, because we know nothing really is by chance. And I signed up for it, went along, and, I just took to it. I really just dived straight into it, and I felt that I had this passion and alignment with it from the word go, really. But I carried on with the day job, as it were. And, then things just started unfolding for me. And I was offered books to write and columns. And so in the end, it did become my main thing. But from literally the age of 24 to where I am now, I have always studied and learnt more and more. So I've studied lots of different facets of it. So I started off, obviously with the basics of how to cast the chart and what it really means. Then I studied with these Jungian astrologers, and that was really interesting because it was all about the shadow and, the sort of psychological patterns in the chart. And then for the last sort of 11, 12 years, I've been studying much more esoterically and in terms of healing astrology. So we've got much more into the soul. And that's really my chief fascination. I love working with clients who really need deep help, either because they've got a physical crisis and emotional crisis. As we know, those two are more often than not very linked. But I think the chart is just such a fabulous healing tool. Yeah,
I remember, I'm not sure if Linda Goodman wrote a book on sun signs in romance, but I'm pretty sure it was her. And I remember going, she did, didn't she? And I wrote
love signs. Love signs.
I went into foils. Remember Foils bookshop?
Yes.
It's still there. When I was 20. That was like 40 odd years ago. And I was marrying my first wife, and she's Capricorn, I'm Libran. And I looked it up, and it was kind of like, don't do it. And I'm like, God.
Exactly.
But I did do it.
Anyway.
I went ahead anyway. There we are. So, and it had its blessings and its challenges, of course. All right. So I know you had, because we've chatted before, I know you've had a connection with Princess Diana, which is quite amazing, really. Do you mind just mentioning briefly that connection, her interest? And
Yes. Well, Diana was fascinated by astrology, and she really understood it very well. It wasn't something that she struggled to make a connection with. She wanted to know what everyone's star sign was. Obviously, I was reading her entire chart, and she wanted me to draw up charts for lots of people. She really connected with the idea that, we're here to learn, and that, a lot of these aspects that come along in these planetary cycles are like sort of growth cycles. So she was just such a wonderful person to work with because she completely got it. She loved it. She was highly intuitive.
I guess her chart and Charles didn't mesh as well as it might have done.
Well, the interesting thing is, if you just go by the sun sign, you can run into trouble because, of course, Camilla is the same sun sign as Diana. They're both Cancerians.
Yeah.
And Cancer and Scorpio is technically a very good match, but it depends so much on what else is there in the chart. Both Charles and Diana have very complex charts. Okay. And I think as a match, they kind of triggered each other's deepest fears and issues. Whereas I think with Camilla, she is kind of made of steel. She has a very steely resilience to her. And, she's somebody who is happy to just go along with doing those things that she's now doing and surrendering really to being in this relationship with Charles. So, I mean, that's quite a good combination for them.
Yeah. Fascinating to have probably tea with Diana and chatting about these things.
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
Well, let's jump into, and I know I'm going to be the guinea pig here, of the because your book talks about north nodes, south nodes, the moon, which are the points of karma and soul destiny, the ascendant and descendant. Ascendant, what you give out, and descendant, what you draw in, what you say in the book. The midheaven, where you're going, and the IC. I can never remember. What's the technical name for the IC?
It's encoded. Yes, no one calls it that. It sounds like a nasty disease, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. That's where you're coming from, and all the personal planets and social planets and outer planets. So I'm willing to be the guinea pig, and you can just to highlight, because your book does go into all the various styles. It's very easy to read, really. You can really look at it and see and read. Well, where am I? And it gives you very good information on. But anyway, I'm going to be the sacrificial lamb here.
Oh. Well, Steve, it's very interesting to be a Libra with such a marked emphasis also on Scorpio, these two next door neighbor signs. And Libra, of course, is the sign of the balance, the scales, but it's not the case that you incarnate with all of these qualities already downloaded and fully fledged. And we're here to learn whatever it is encapsulated in your sign. So I would say that your life is about the journey towards finding balance in all things. And as a sort of added catalyst to that, because you have Scorpio rising and a north node in Scorpio, you're going to be going through some very deep trigger points here, which take you into more of the sort of shadow side of existence, whether that's your own crises, whether it's certain individuals that you've met, whatever it is that you've been dealing with. So your pathway is kind of like rising like Phoenix from the ashes, which is a very Scorpionic theme, but ultimately to try to remain serene as a Libra and to find that peacefulness, literally the calm in the storm. And often in the eye of the storm, they say that is the calm place. I did have a
dark night of the soul for 6 years, which was very, very dark.
A long time, yeah.
Yeah, and then I did rise from the ashes. This is me risen from the ashes. Here I am.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, and that's such a transmuting and refining process to rise like Phoenix from the ashes, because literally all of the dross, all of your worst fears have been faced, and you come through with this level of insight and greater purity, because you're no longer scared of the shadow, because you've sort of stared it down, as it were. So it's actually an incredible process, really. So I think you make such a sort of a big sense of collaboration and connection, because we've got your 3 planets here in the 11th house, which is groups, like-minded people. It's people on the same wavelength and frequency. And
is that the sun? Is that Sun, Jupiter, and Mars?
Sun and Jupiter, yeah, and Mars, all there, and Neptune just there on the cusp. And there's just this feeling of gathering your tribe together, and this sense of elevation with Jupiter. So it's like there's always this field of potential around you, and you are someone for whom finding the meaning is the most important thing. Jupiter is really, of course, Jupiter when it's young, can be, I always say it's sort of like the playboy and the priest, so when you're young, you can go more on the hedonistic side of Jupiter, where everything is sort of quite excessive, but ultimately it's a quest for meaning.
That might have been nice to be a playboy. I never was one.
Maybe it's later.
Oh, is that to come?
Around.
Maybe it's still to come, maybe.
Yeah, so Jupiter, of course, when we're talking about your soul contracts and your karma, Jupiter traditionally is the planet of, you know, having a bit of good karma in the bank. It might not have always felt like that because the Scorpio has taken you into these darker nights of the soul, as you say. But the Jupiter is about being able to make the best of things and being able to tap into you know, how to develop, learn, and grow from everything that comes your way. But not only that, this isn't really about you per se, it's about drawing together this tribe. I mean, you are this massive connector. So, I mean, it's terrific. And of course, not an accident that you're born at this time when social media is here and we've got these, and also with your work in alternatives, you know, you've always been someone very much connecting people, haven't you?
Yeah, I love that part. Yeah.
Yes, but
I guess that's the 11th house, is it?
That's the 11th house. We're always thinking up new ways to get people together and how can they help each other? That's the Jupiter. So, you know, what's the potential that they can give to each other? So that's a brilliant thing. So the Saturn, which is also the planet of karma, there you do have it in the first house. So Saturn is responsibility, and it's sort of somebody that has had to grow up fast when young and take on a bit of responsibility, maybe even a bit shy when young, because Saturn there is kind of being conscious that, you know, all eyes are upon you and you're supposed to do the right thing. Maybe that is why you got married and you know, you felt that need to be settled and to tick the box.
And I married a Capricorn.
Yes, exactly. Yes. So so Saturn there is about never shirking your responsibilities. You sort of, you know, you are a hard worker. You are someone who's, this isn't about, you know, just all, you know, party land in the collaborative sphere of your chart, but about, okay, let's also do some work here. And you really enjoy that aspect. So it's about manifestation as well, not the kind of manifestation that's all about, let's just think, dream up what we want and click our fingers and it comes. Talking about making things real and literally living in this material world, but as a soul, as a spirit. It's literally, and that's part of the balance of Libra, isn't it? Because it's about the balance of heaven and earth, of the material and spiritual. Yeah. But as a Libra, of course, relationship's going to be super important for you. And often Libra kind of find themselves through other people. So it's almost like that other person is the sounding board or the person that you sort of play off, or through their personality, you discover yourself so much better than you would if you were just by yourself, because you need the contrast.
Isn't it behind every successful man there's either a strong wife or a pushy mother-in-law or something? Isn't it something like that?
That's probably the Libra mantra.
I think so. And my partner, she is quite strong. She knows
what sign is she?
She is Aquarius.
Okay, so that's a fellow air sign for you. So this is a real true meeting of minds, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's a Libra, Pisces moon like me, so we have that kind of Piscean moony thing going
really
as well.
good. Let's get to that Pisces moon, which of course Pisces is the final sign of the zodiac. So we're looking here at you know, kind of letting go of the ego. Moon in Pisces is about wanting to go into the more spiritual side of life, wanting to go with the flow. It's the realm and zone of compassion and empathy and emotional intelligence. So the, you know, to have the sun in Libra and the moon in Pisces is a very gentle combination, really. Very kind, very naturally kind, very generous. I mean, maybe you think sometimes to your detriment. I don't know if that's ever happened. You know, can there be too much that you've given? Because you are a giver. There it is, you know, very much embedded all over your chart.
I do give a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
And very highly sensitized. So moon in Pisces almost doesn't need to be taught how to meditate. You know, you've always had that access to the astral realms and the fifth dimension. And you know, that's where you go all the time. That's your happy place. You know, moon is your comfort zone. In Pisces, it's the spiritual realm.
Yeah. My parents were disapproved of me daydreaming too much. But now I can daydream as much as I like.
Well, you can if you didn't have Saturn there, but Saturn is saying, oh, hang on a minute, Steve, you've got to achieve this thing as well.
Write the book, build the business.
Yeah, you've got to build a business. So it's actually a good balance to each other, coming back to that theme of balance.
Yeah.
And you have Mercury in Virgo, so at what we call the anaretic degree, which is the final degree of the zodiac. It's at 29 degrees.
Oh, right.
Of course, there are only 29, 30 degrees in each sign. So it's the anaretic degree, which means there's something very meant about your Mercury being just there on the cusp of Virgo and Libra. And Virgo, of course, is super precise. So you've got that eagle eye. You can tune in and fine tune. You can see things. It's the power of observation. You can see things that everyone else misses.
Yeah.
And, you know, that detail is great because, you know, it's, again, a perfect antidote to some of that dreamier part of your being. So there's this sense of precision and maybe even slight perfectionism. And am I right? You used to be in the financial world, so perhaps
finance and then local government. I was managing there, and there was a lot of precision needed in both jobs really. Both jobs.
Yeah. But your Mercury and Mars are what we call conjunct. They're together, so you've got super quick mind. You don't really need a calculator. You know, you're kind of on it, as they say. You pick it up very, very quickly. You can process things super speedily. You have very quick reactions to things. And that doesn't mean to say that you're acting out with it, but just that you get it in an instant, in a nanosecond.
Yeah, I used to find, particularly alternatives, that I used to say things and I realized I've thought things through 7 steps ahead, and I had to go back and explain the 7 steps in my mind because they were like, what?
Yes.
And it was a technique I had to learn. No, you can't just say, you have to kind of let them build it up, pace it so they can understand what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, so you are a trailblazer with that. And, you know, this is 10th house, which is your career, your position. I mean, you know, you need to have your mind stretched in that way. This isn't just you reading a couple of books a day at home. You know, this is you being out there in the world, using this fabulous mind and putting the words into action. You know, words by themselves can't exist. It has to be the action and the words for you.
Yeah.
So just coming back to relationships, because you have Venus and Scorpio and it is squared up to Pluto, which is that volcanic, intense and quite passionate, dare I say, energy. I would imagine that some relationships, or that maybe there has been an attraction, not necessarily a fatal attraction, but definitely quite karmic relationships and things that have really pressed your buttons and again, catalyzed and refined your capacity to really understand what love is. That's a big, big theme in your life.
Yeah, I would say that I've had 1 or 2 karmic relationships, and one especially was, well, 1 or 2, but one particularly was very, very tough and very, very Plutonic. Pluto. Was it very dramatic? A lot of drama and undercurrents and and overcurrents as well. Something like it was a bit too dramatic.
Lots of eruptions. Yeah, because you see, this is the thing. It's very difficult to maintain the Libran sense of balance and peace when you've got all of that stuff going on, but you draw it, you have drawn it to you in the past. Yeah. So there's a lot of wisdom here about learning how to calm the storm and how to deal with these very intense energies. And of course, we know that you're a wizard when it comes to dealing with the darker forces in life. And now, instead of perhaps magnetizing that into personal relationships, maybe you've become very well acquainted and learning how to negotiate and deal with those little people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I hope so. I'm hoping for an easier life next time. Next time will be a bit of a rest and relaxation. This one's been a bit of a, you know, let's go through that hurricane type of thing. All right, let's listen to it. Yeah.
Yes. But it's richer and more colourful, isn't it? I mean, it's the opposite of flatline your life. I mean, there's been a lot of ups and downs, and it's the intensity of it. It's given, you know, enormous depth. because that's another thing that Librans can be accused of, that in the name of keeping the peace, you know, they don't go into things, but that's not for you, because you get drawn into things, you have to go into them. So, you know, you get pulled into these situations, shall we say. So you're brilliant at crisis management, but not just, you know, sorting it all out and pigeonholing it, but actually releasing the negative drama that is at its core. I do feel a bit like I've had enough dramas now, that when I see one coming, I'm like, oh no, I'm not going to go into that one anymore. No, because really, you know, you're a healer, and you're using your energies in this very highly ascended way. You know, because Scorpio has so many levels to it. The Scorpio rising that you have, the North Node and the Venus there, you know, we can be operating in that scorpionic sting of the tail way. We can be operating as the eagle, where we're seeing things, or we can be operating at a much higher level of ascension as the dove, which is bringing peace. So you are seeing it all, but you are your role is to instigate peace and to heal.
Yes, I do feel with the Scorpionic thing that even though I'm quite out there publicly, I'm actually pretty private. The Scorpio is really private.
Yeah, it is very, very private. Being a Scorpio myself, I completely connect with that. Yeah.
So if I meet people at a party and they say, what do you do? I would say, oh, I've written a few books and I do coaching. I would not tell people. I'm just not broadcasting.
No.
Strange, because on the
well, I think we learn about that, don't we? That we don't really want to move into trying to explain ourselves necessarily to all and sundry. I mean, it's just a waste of energy, isn't it?
Totally.
It makes you into a target. It's like, why invite that? As a piece of play for other people, you know, because what the work that we're doing is serious work, you know, we don't want to be using it as a party piece.
Exactly.
Yes, this private side to you. I mean, I think Scorpio is one of those very interesting signs where it's a bit like, you know, everyone else's secrets, but you don't necessarily want them to know yours. So it might be that you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable even having this, perhaps if it was one-to-one, but the fact that it's going to go out to your people, I don't know how comfortable you are with that.
I'm trying okay. So far, I'm breathing all right. I'm still breathing. No, it's good for me. Come out of the comfort zone. It's good anyway.
Yes, absolutely. That's really Scorpio destiny, because, you know, the comfort zone is not the place to exist, because, you know, all comfort zones are really a place of deadness. They're not where life really happens and grows and evolves. And you are a person on an evolutionary path. But yes, you would need your time to yourself, and, you know, trust is a big issue for you. Scorpio always has big deals about trust, whether there's issues of betrayal, whether that's financial or emotional betrayal on some level, and, you know, perhaps you've witnessed that or been involved with that. And, you know, really understanding human nature and how people behave badly because they get taken over by, you know, some of those 7 deadly sins or whatever, and how that operates, and, you know, how then can we forgive, and can we let go, and can we release, and, you know, what can we actually live with and do about it all. And you have Venus there. So Venus obviously is the Libran planet, and Venus is the most prominently placed here in the first house. It's the first thing we see. So, you know, Venus is the person who loves things that are beautiful, not just your socks.
But including them.
you love beauty. You know, and what is beauty? I mean, beauty can be a feeling. It doesn't have to be a material thing. It's that sense, it's that Libran sense of this is a beautiful atmosphere. So the energy is beautiful. So you're a great appreciator of that.
Well, I am. I can see it all behind you. See, I like that mirror. When I look at isn't that beautiful mirror?
Oh,
yeah. See, I noticed that straight away. And also the vases. Are they vases or candle holders on the end?
Yeah, these. Yes, little vases.
The big one, the big ones at the end. The big ones.
Oh, these. Yeah, they've got candles in them.
See, I noticed all that. I think I like all that splendor.
That's your Libra. Yeah. So
like
you're attracted to beautiful, beautiful things, and they soothe your soul. And it's very important to know, you know, what is the fast track to soothing our soul. I mean, obviously with your moon in Pisces, you can meditate, but actually catching sight of something beautiful is also an instant soother for you.
Yeah, there's a beautiful hotel along the seafront, the Grand Hotel, and I go there and I sit and have tea just to be surrounded by the elegance.
That's right, the elegance of it.
Yeah, I do like the elegance, and they do nice tea as well, so it's quite nice.
So, yes. I don't know if there's anything you'd like to ask me. I mean, obviously, that's a bit of a whirlwind tour of your chart. And
well, that's fabulous. Can I ask you about the midheaven? Would be
the midheaven, yes, Virgo. Midheaven is Virgo. So this is the teacher and the person who is the communicator. Setting up ways and strategies really for people to navigate the world. I mean, Virgo, again, that precision and perfectionism comes into it. You've got all these different modalities of, Virgo is service to others, to be absolutely honest.
Yes,
so that's really what you're here for.
Yes.
Anyway,
that's kind of where I'm going. Isn't the midheaven is where I'm going? That's
where you're going, and that's your sort of prime peak point. That's the place that's overhead. It overlights you. So service to others is the direction. And then we obviously, whatever is overhead here, the opposite is underneath. So this is your very inner point. And this is Pisces, where the moon is also there as well. Yeah. So this is, your spiritual home, and that feeling of being at one, where you can let go of all of the whys and wherefores and all the busyness that goes on at that top end, and just come to this place of flow and relaxation at your inner essence, and perhaps in your home as well. Also, you live close to the water, don't you? That's very.
Oh yeah, I love the water.
That's a very sort of literal, symbolic thing, and that's a great thing for you. So when we have to go to the other angle here. So we've got Scorpio on the ascendant. This is what you're putting out into the world, and which is about also helping people to become empowered, to discover their own power to navigate this world through these spiritual tools and techniques. And it's how you put yourself out. As you say, there is quite a private you to that. And on the other end of that, you're drawing in Taurus. So you do want stability in your personal partnerships and relationships. Not really somebody who's going to be a fly by night. You want security and stability. And you actually quite appreciate a bit of a down to earthness in your partner as well. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it's really everyday enjoyment, breakfast. It's kind of the things you do with.
Food is Taurus.
Food is Taurus. Yes.
It's going through all the rituals of life. Taurus is, we've got this, lovely, soothing. It's quite simple. It's just like the things you really enjoy, the things that bring those pleasures in life.
Yeah. That's fabulous, really. That's amazing, really. So I'm on track and I'm all right.
You are. Absolutely. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Definitely. Doing what you're meant to be doing.
Well, let me just ask. So this book, the Soul, What's Your Soul Sign? So when people read it, it's really kind of a step by step of all your planets, the moon, the sun, the north. It gives a description of all of these points, doesn't it?
Yes. So I try to make it simple because, when you mention the word soul, some people become, sort of, they just feel it's so complex, or it can be terrifying to some people. So, I mean, it's just about taking it on a step-by-step basis to kind of decode and decipher the placements that you have in your chart. So you can start to see it not just from, some of these kind of planetary cookbooks are very much about, this is your personality. It's all written from the perspective of the soul. Like, why have you attracted this into your life? It's because your soul's intention has actually choreographed your cosmic dance in this way. And that's what's so beautiful about the chart. So you've kind of invited it.
Well, I know you've got I think a couple of other books. Your Law of Attraction for Love.
Yes, and Written in the Stars. Written in the Stars. That was the one before this. So that's more of a sun sign book. But that's a great starter book for astrology.
And are you doing readings for people? I know
Yes, I am.
I've fabulously got one.
I love doing readings for people. Yeah, so I've got lots of ongoing clients and clients all over the world, because now with Zoom, it's great, you know. You can connect with everybody everywhere.
And that's through your website?
Yeah, well, you can contact me through the website, and then I'll come back to you and we'll arrange it.
Okay, that's fabulous. Again, are you on social media like Instagram?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, Debbie Frank Astrologer.
Oh yes, Debbie Frank Astrology. There we are. I'm following you, so that's fabulous.
Okay.
So lovely.
Great.
Oh, Debbie, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. It's lovely.
It is nice. Thank you. And also you've signed it. Lovely. Dear Steve, a beautiful soul, star blessings. How about that?